Well, since so many of you really like the budget Critweaver build, but I have so many questions, I decided to make a few updates to the build. Because since I released it, I did quite the progress, since the budget build really enabled me to do quite everything in the game. So I decided to make it spicier by removing the everlasting gaze, and so far, so good. Since I was clearing the bosses in one hit and I didn't have to really learn any mechanics, well, luckily that part of my gameplay that I'm able to do build broken enough for me to skip the mechanics to learn, I managed to max out my rituals. Since I did my kinginthemists couple of times, I earned quite some divine orbs because I dropped, out of like 5 or 6 attempts, I dropped Ingenuity belt 3 times, kept 1 for myself with 76 roll, and I'm not gonna valid, stop that, just saying in the front, in Noval Novels or whatever, nah, I'm just happy and that is like a best roll for me. I maxed my breach. I really like to level in this is just juicy leveling, not gonna lie. I tried it on level 6 to see if the boss gonna be harder. I did expeditions, but only got the boss once. I had maxed the arbiter instantly because it was the easiest boss. Like, he just got bitch slapped and dropped me the book for the talents. So I'm down to max simulacrum, which in my opinion is the only hard thing in the game, because the obnoxious body block from the mobs is just something that's just quite hard for me to get around. But I did it a couple of times with a friend of mine, a viewer of mine, so big thanks to him for help. It was way easier 2-man, and yeah, so overall I have quite the costly upgrades, and as I made already the video about this potion is completely broken. Like, it makes, like, I actually regret not just gathering everything up to get that potion. It's literally changing the entire game. The Ingenuity belt was the main reason why I really wanted to swap out of the everlasting gaze, because I had Amulet like this with 15 spirit, which gave me the 170 for custom shock, archmage and the clarity. So that was just perfect heaven for me. I reached my goal in terms of like spirit, and I could throw the Ventros away, and I got this 34 and 14 rarity, beautiful ring. And I just slapped that one, mainly to cap my resistances. They are at the moment a bit overcapped, of course excluding the chaos, because I just always think, you know, I'm just gonna dodge the chaos, and this is why my leveling is kinda slow, because yeah, the dodge part is not here. But yeah, I will get it capped soon enough, because I don't wanna play chaos. Yeah, I really don't like that talent, I don't know what to tell you, but I just don't like that talent. But maybe I should try a little bit more with it and just have all the omens. Like, yeah, I have PTSD from all the on-ground effects and shit, but all that's getting consumed is this. Like, this shit barely ever works. But yeah, with my items looking like stuff, because the stuff costed me nothing, everyone wants a wand and focus, so I just went for the stuff, because I don't really give a fuck, I one-shot everything anyway, and I paid 1 divine orb for this beauty, so I really don't give a fuck the slightest about focus and a wand. Fuck that shit, stuffs are literally costing you nothing. I don't know if someone was like, hi, selling this for 1 divine orb, but I just fucking picked it instantly. I just insta whisper him, yo, you there, you selling? I just wanted that stuff ASAP. 1 divine orb, I don't give a fuck about 1 and focus. Can't care less. Like, I was exploding the bosses with way worse stuff as well. So this is just cherry on the cake, you know? And most important of all, remember, this build is a budget build. So whenever you guys asking me why stuff, not wand and focus and stuff like this, it's because it's budget build and stuff is way cheaper than a wand. At least a decent stuff versus a decent wand. So look, we don't care about the skill the stuff has, we only care about the stats it provides. And let's say we're gonna base on mana for the archmage, spell damage for obvious reasons, and the lightning spells as the most important 3 base things for the weapon. So let's take a look at the prices. And when we check all lightning spells, 7, which is like what you get max on the stuff, 100 mana, and let's say 50 of either spell or lightning damage, and we instantly get a pop-ups for 1 div orb for chiming stuff, which is insane overall because it's a sigil of power, but the skill doesn't matter. But now if you wanna find the stuff, what you do is at the stat group, weighted sum, spell skills, ranks to, like levels to all spell skills, and level of all lightning spell skills. You put here 5, because that's what you get maximum on a wand, which is the most important of all things, by the way. The ranks of your skills are very important. So we get the search, and we instantly get into 40 orbs range. So this is your reason. And this is like the first random ones. Like if you're gonna... Oh, it's instantly 5. So yeah. It's only a wand. Remember, you're still gonna need a focus. So another very important part of gear, gloves. And I think that those gloves are sacrifice worthy to make, because they set flat critical damage bonus to 300 with a nice up to 30% critical hit chance with a little bit of attack speed. Is kind of really worth it of like sacrifice in terms of an item slot, because they are not the greatest. But if you wanna play crit, you get a free 30% of it, and your critical damage bonus is 300%. No matter if you pick bonus to it or you pick a negative value for it, you will have 300% crit. So before I swap to crit, for anyone wondering, I was using those gloves. They are amazing, I love the electrocution, but they are just not on the same level if you play crit. If you play normal, non-crit, you should go for these gloves or any full energy shield, the good base energy shield ones with resistances, so it's way easier for you to cap them up. And maybe some attack speed, I don't know, whatever you manage to find in like a budget, you know. And then you just use lightning rod on your amulet, which is never gonna be budget. Isolation, I think it's like, what was it, somewhere here? Lightning rod, suffering and double isolation. This is the least budget thing you can get for the build, so yeah. What I'm using is mental toughness. Mental toughness is like, envy, let me check to be sure. That's envy, fear, greed. That's like 47 exalted orbs peak the delirium, so yeah, that's a big difference. Let's take a look, just to be sure, because we have fear here, 34 at the moment, and take a look at the isolation that you have to get double, 300, big difference. So before I swap to crit, for anyone wondering, I was using those gloves. They are amazing, I love the electrocution, but they are just not on the same level if you play crit. If you play normal, non-crit, you should go for these gloves or any full energy shield, the good base energy shield ones with resistances, so it's way easier for you to cap them up. And maybe some attack speed, I don't know, whatever you manage to find in like a budget, you know. And then you just use lightning rod on your amulet, which is never gonna be budget. Isolation, I think it's like, what was it, somewhere here? Lightning rod, suffering and double isolation. This is the least budget thing you can get for the build, so yeah. What I'm using is mental toughness. Mental toughness is like, envy, let me check to be sure. That's envy, fear, greed. That's like 47 exalted orbs peak the delirium, so yeah, that's a big difference. Let's take a look, just to be sure, because we have fear here, 34 at the moment, and take a look at the isolation that you have to get double, 300, big difference. So for the two main pieces that should give you like the most defensives, obviously the helmet and the body armor, what I was aiming for is to have spirit for the cast on shock, which just taps out the bosses in an instant, so it's kind of worth in my opinion. And as you see, that body armor is far from the greatest. It just has a lot of energy shield. It has 55 spirit, so with the amulet I have 170. And the helmet's another part just for 70 energy shield, and I rolled double socket with the corruption, so I kept it so far. That's my only source of chaos resistance as well, because, you know, budget build. Like you have life regen, dead stat. Here you have life regen 1.3, giga dead stat, 59 reduced bleeding duration on you, giga dead stat. That could be chaos resistances, other resistances. But it is what it is, brother. Like, budget is budget, so don't expect me to have like the best possible gear in the game, because I'm myself playing this build. And as you can see, I have a couple of bridge stones stacked up, so I can get some more bridge rings, so I maybe can craft better one than this one. But I'm happy with it, to be fair. I got lightning damage and all elementals and lightning resistance, so that lightning modifier catalyst was just beautiful on it. Ramped up my resistances beautifully. And the other ones, to embrace the fucking rarity meta as sad as it is, I got over 100 now. Before I was running with 10. Do I see difference? I sadly fucking do, and I hate it. I wish they just completely remove that, so I can go full damage, full utility, something else than the fucking rarity, but for now, we gotta do what we gotta do, men's gotta do what men's gotta do. But since I got Ingenuity, I can easily cap my resistances off of the rings, especially with that 24 all elementals and another 18 all elementals, just beautiful. And before I had mana regen chest with resistances, but this just gave me 200 energy shield more. Do I feel difference in tankiness? No. In damage? No. So if you have a little bit less energy shield but you have resistances on the body armor and the helmet, you're 100% fine with everything. Like, trust me, you will not really see that big of a difference. It's important for you not to be one with the floor, so you can do the most of your damage. Because when you're alive, that's when you do the most of your damage. And the last but not least, the off weapon for the weapon set 2, which is always gonna be Sigil of Power stuff. And all you really want on it is to have like at least 4 of all spell skills. But yeah, if you can get 6, it's just perfect. If you can't get with 4 or less, just don't overpay for it. It will come sooner or later. But the thing is, what this stuff gives us, too beautiful to pass on. You put this on, you spam your mana to stack it, and just look my spark damage going as I spam my mana. Let me do it in mana tempest actually. So, 185, I go out. Yeah, I think it's worth the sacrifice, especially that you can put something like more stun threshold on it whenever you stay in it. But that's only like for the bosses, to make sure that they are tapped out instantly. Don't spam it for mobs, because swapping the weapon takes time and stuff like this. So yeah, just use it for the tapping out the bosses, not really needed for the mobs. So I hope that covers all the questions I was constantly getting about the gear. Why this, why that? Here's your answers, detailed every piece of the gear. Well, I guess the 30 can work as well, so there goes my everlasting ace. So, time to go over the support gems, yeah? So, the start of the lightning bolt, whatever you ever see here, is that those gems I just don't want to hold in my bag. So, I just put them in my lightning bolt, and it just holds them for me for the time being, till I want to swap anything out whenever I test stuff, so this is completely irrelevant. My Sigil of Power has Magnified Effect, Persistence, Unbreakable, and Ingenuity. Why? Because I like it to be bigger, I like it to be long, I love the stun threshold and the cooldown reduction, so I can like put it in different places, because when I do rituals, I just put it on the rituals, not for the damage, but for the stun threshold. I really don't like to be staggered. My spark has of course the cast speed, the lightning skills, +1, supported skills 40% less cost, and considered casting that I often swap towards my cast on shock lightning conduits when I don't want to have electrocute on them and I want the biggest bang on them, 98 like right now, but most of the time I have electrocute on them and I put considered casting here. If I swap considered to the lightning conduit, I use the execute. And of course, pierce. My Orb of Storm playstyle is probably different to anyone else's. It's lightning exposure apply on it. It's +1 to limit. Supported skills 100% more chance to shock. Exposure applied by supported skills also having 30% increased effect. And 75% increased magnitude of shocks also applied by the Orb of Storm. And what I do on the boss, I drop 2 of them. And I only need to like cast 2 or 3 times, so the lower duration doesn't really bother me. And if I do that into a pack, double orb, and I spam cast, everything just disappears in peace load of lightning chains. Remember that also my ascendancy has this exposure inflict lowers the affected resistances by an additional 20, which adds up to the baseline, so all the exposure is just giga effective on Stormweaver. So that's why I'm rolling my Orb of Storm the way I'm rolling it. 2, to make sure all the shocks and all the exposures are always up in an instant, because as you saw, even though I have 2 conduits and it requires 600 energy, the amount of shocks I'm doing, it gives me an instant lightning conduit proc anyways. And I don't even want it to be too fast. I have 2 of them for the 600 energy, mainly so they are not too fast. My conductivity that I always put on the ground, as of course the effect of the support gem called Cursed Ground that makes it last on the ground instead of being a debuff that applies after a delay. It of course has the heightened curse for bigger effect, which is just beautiful. And what else will they have? Of course, area of effect. And what? Area of effect. We could even slap this and go some passives for area of effect, but yeah. The boss just has to not be a teleporter, like all of them as you saw before. So yeah, that's all we need. I applied 1 extra, but I don't really know what to put, like all others are kinda useless, so this is what I'm rolling with. Like I don't really use it that often because I can just drop the orb and I have exposure for the mobs and extra damage for the mobs for cleaning them up. So putting all of that takes time. Dropping the orb and putting another one already discharges the other one. So yeah, that's all you really need. You don't need the curse for mobs. No. The damage is completely bonkers. Way too much to even like bother about the mobs. You can just walk towards everything and spam your spark. Like click it so you're not slowed down and everything will be dying, trust me. And of course Mana Tempest with upgraded quality. So we can like step out of it and have it for a moment afterwards. So whenever I walk, I can just press this and get the cooling strikes up. Like it's quite fast spell. But yeah, most of the time I don't really do it. I only use it for boss, but still premeditation is what you really need on it. Cooling is like an optional, like it increases your cost, so your mana will drain faster. So usually use it with caution. I would honestly swap out the cooling strike just to have like less mana cost on it, less ramp up on it. Big difference as you saw. Like mana ramps up, runs to like full drain insta. This way slower. And for boss, honestly, you can even go further by swapping this here. Look at that! The mana waits till you press your first ability to start draining. Isn't that beautiful? My Archmage only has this clarity, the reason why I have 170 spirit completely drained out, 0 out of 170. I use Flame Wall just because I was playing it from the beginning of the game and it helped me with the ending of Act 1 boss. So yeah, I just have a sentiment to it, completely not needed, you don't have to bother about it. And up to the 3 most asked about things ever. Eye of the Winter, Voltaic Mark, and my Custom Shock with Lightning Conduits. So let's start with Voltaic Mark. This is not an ability of Sorc, I think that's more meant for Monk or something, but it doesn't recommend you this ability, that's what I know. I found out about it from my friend looking for other skill gems. It requires 52 dexterity the least, that's a level 14, but I have level... So level 7 is the least... The lowest you can go for the skill gem to get it. And that's gonna require you the least dexterity. But if you're going for these gloves, you won't really bother, just get a skill gem 7 or whatever. They always have the same effect, it only changes the Nova damage, so you don't bother about the Nova damage at all. What's important is marked enemy have 50 more chance to shock. Again, like you have 50 more chance to shock the enemy. And 45 increased effect of shock on your marked enemy. This is just insane. Like, you all ask me, even though I said those, like you can check them, sure, if you really want them, but those completely do not fucking matter. You can just remove them all. But what I do often with Voltaic Mark, I put those 2 and I just cast it to discharge them. It's really fast cast. It's just for fun. But yeah, it's not optimal, don't do it. I died too many times to it, still not very fun. I was testing a lot, like to see what my shock values are, because hard to check anywhere. And second most asked, why do I use Eye of the Winter? Critical weakness. Causes hits against affected targets to have up to 10 increased crit hit chance. And that's amazing. You just throw it with Unleash, instantly stack it up full on the boss, so the boss can get erased. And how I start the boss, I press Sigil, hyper scarce, double orbs, flame wall, for fun of course, you don't need a flame wall, double orb, mana tempest, and I throw the Eye of the Winter and I voltaic mark him, and he dies. Basically from 0 energy on for cast on shock, he dies. And I can guarantee you this, like you saw that already in previous video, I can show you this billion of times. I will show you at the end of the video how it looks on Xesht, so that's that. So to the main part of the video, for me the most beloved thing, automatic lightning conduit ×2. It's important ×2. Why? Because I just want it slower. I just don't want it to proc all the time. I want it slower and that's it, period. Why? I don't know. I just want it slower. So whenever I need like to be sure that a boss dies, I use electrocute. But as of very recent, I just stopped doing it and I swapped considered casting here, just because I love to see that it reaches disgusting amounts of damage. And that's pretty much it. Like, you don't really need, like, this game on this particular setup. You will completely fuck the game right and left in every possible position. Trust me, just don't really care about min-maxing, because first of all, you're watching a budget build. So don't really bother, don't really stress to have everything in a perfect slot. It won't make big difference. Just try to follow like basics, like we can put the execute here back, and basically you will love the game. All that we have left to do is to get the passives, and before just inevitable critical to make sure we crit that fucker. Elemental focus, 24 more elemental damage, but we can't inflict the ailments. But this shit can't inflict them anyway. It can reapply shock anyways. So when you upgrade it, it has 20% on consuming shock to reapply it. So the other one can also still spunk like crazy. Just remember this. So we have giga chance for crit for both of them. It's 62 plus critical weakness, so it's kinda guaranteed. And 24 elemental damage we can't inflict, so it's whatever. It's just straight up 25% more damage and 40 more damage. And for love of God, one thing I need to mention.
Of course, you want the lightning conduit. Then we want it to happen 40% faster, and then we will give it considered casting, which is just a 40% damage amp, as the cast speed doesn't matter with cast on, and then here for another 40% more damage for less effect, because it still reaches massively far away.
You know, it's kind of funny because I also use a very similar build, which is a critical strike chance based build with lightning conduit with cast on shock, and I reach over 160 spirit for the same reason, to get archmage and lightning conduit. But funnily enough, I was able to check the actual lightning conduit damage with whatever gem I'm putting on it, so I can see if it actually works on it. Just like the considered casting here increases the damage from 50 to 70k. And I can see that the inevitable critical is also affecting it, because it keeps refreshing and putting me back to the start till it charges to max, so I can see that it gets affected by the crit. And I had actually enough time not trying to pump the views by the new best titles all the time to check that this fucking gem does not work on it. 78, 40 more area damage, still 78. Because that's not a fucking area damage ability. Flame Wall is, for an example. And I use it because I want it smaller, because my GPU is trash. So I want less graphic effects on my screen. And I know, it says AoE on the lightning conduit, but it still doesn't take longer than 3 seconds to check if that gem works on it, because I managed to realize that many things are set to be AoE, but that shit does not work on them simply. So, yeah, such a simple thing, but spreading misinformation to over 1 million subscriptions, beautiful. I really love that the fact they got called out, because I'm also kind of a new player to the game, you know. They started before me, but I'm a bit different beast when it comes to like making builds, you know. Because if I put something on something and I clearly see that it has no effect, I think it's just stupid idea to put them together, you know. So if anyone wonders why my miniature is like it is, you know, I'm just doing a little bit of parody. And that's nearly a 30-minute video, and I didn't even get to passives. Holy PoE. So let's start with this beautiful ring. Whenever you didn't make a mistake and pick Chronomancer, this is how you would picture your build. We go for the Arcane Surge and Power. Obviously nothing better. When I saw it, I instantly picked Stormweaver. No more questions were asked. Double shock, because this is the most broken part for us. Like, bro, I have 100 shock, and for some reason I have 89 or something shock. I need to actually check to be sure, but stuff dies too fast. Actually, stuff dies too fast for me to know how much exactly of shock I have, but I know that the one is 100 and the other is slower. But I noticed the moment I reached the first 100, only the other one grew. So I don't know what's wrong with that, but I need a training dummy that's actually immortal, because, or maybe I need 6 people on a boss so I can see what I'm doing. And this. Why not this? I really wanted to build with this, but it's just the exposure and the curse, the way they work. It's a lot to explain, but basically you want both, and you want them as strong as possible, but the curse not too strong. Like, let's say sweet spot would be like 70-70 for both, but this is way stronger than this. I hated it, especially because it was spawning in wherever I didn't really need it. And the boss, as you see, like, what is it gonna do damage to him? Like 5k damage, and like if it will be able to even do the damage in first place. So this is a powerhouse. This is a dream I really wanted to come true, but this is the nightmare we live, yeah? You want most of your build, you pick this. Mental toughness is from my Amulet. Allocates mental toughness, 18 increased mana regen, 15 reduced mana cost while not on low mana. And I really do love that combo, especially with this node for another reduced mana cost and another mana regen with some mana cost on the way, making our spark on 221. And you can just imagine what happens when I remove the 40 from it. It's already up to 367. Look the difference. I'm holding my button, the mana actually goes down. I have this on, and I have infinite casting all of a sudden. So my passive tree starts with the mana regen. I grab this mana regen on the way, open mind, and I go up for the lightning. I have some strength here to get for the gear. I drop down here for the mana increase, and I don't use this since I don't have energy shield anymore. I have this nodes here, only the crit hit chance, of course. I avoid any crit damage nodes because that's a waste, because no matter what we do, the crit is set to 300 with Maligaros. And for the weapons set to first talents here, for the curse, of course. And we drop down here. We grab the mana regen with magnitude of shock. We grab the increased damage when we crit. And we get that mana regen from the conservative casting. We go up here, and let's start off of the left. What we pick, we can grab this exposure if you fancy. You can go here. I mean, you have to go here. Jump down here for Mind Over Matter, Touch of the Arcane. And we grab the Storm Charged, All Natural, and Breaking Point with this gem slot here. And what you can do, if you really want to another jewel slot, gem, jewel, wherever it is, you go here with normal talents, and then you grab these nodes with your weapon set 2. Or if you don't want to grab this jewel socket, you go here with the weapon set 2 and you grab the skill effect duration. Then we go here, so we can grab the weapon set 2 talents here. Jewel socket, I personally ignore all these talents here because cast speed is not something I really want to, but if you love that cast speed, you can go here for it. But yeah, I just don't want it. But then we of course grab Eldritch Battery if we have Everlasting Gaze or enough gear. Or you're just gonna be in lots of trouble and pain and it's not gonna be fun. But you should actually go first here instead of going first left. And just don't pick this for the time being till you have proper gear or the Everlasting Gaze. And we're gonna grab this spell damage per 100 mana and some regen over here. We, of course, when we play the crit, we grab this, only the crit hit chance nodes. We grab this intelligence 25 for free, so why not? We go here and grab the weapon set 2, but prioritizing early levels, go here, boom, 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 boom. This is probably one of the best things we can get. So these nodes, if you really want to, you can also get lightning exposure here, but I would suggest using the metamorphosis or something, the jewel for it, because yeah, the lightning resistance penetration is not really needed, since we're gonna have very fucking potent curse, because here we grab the weapon set too for even stronger curse, and we're gonna have really potent exposure. So all the damage penetration like to the elemental is completely useless for us. As long as I'm playing versus bosses, I'm keeping invocated efficiency for that triggered spell damage. I have jewels for it somewhere for some crit chance, and all of them actually have magnitude of either the shock or all the ailments I inflict, not with the critical hits, because those are the damaging ones. So that's that. We grab this here, crit chance, crit chance, crit chance. If you have one placeholder for the time of being like between the levels, you can grab another 10 here, but yeah, I would just try to build towards something else instead. Another jewel, and the best talent for us, which has also ton loads of normal lightning damage on the way, and the maximum lightning damage, which is increasing the range on our lightning damage, gives us the most crazy boost from 96 to 108, and normal lightning damage gives us just 2k, so big difference. And since we're using lightning conduit, we grab this 1 point on the way, literally 1 point for 25 chance on top of the gem quality from lightning conduit. So altogether 45 chance on consuming shock on an enemy to instantly reapply it. And that's why the synergy of having two lightning conduits is just beautiful, because if the first one slaps for like billions and it reapplies it, the other one will just do the same. So let me unzoom it. I can't fully unzoom it. I will press shift so you see weapon set 2, weapon set 1 talents. They highlight whenever I press shift. The green one's weapon set 2, the red one's weapon set 1. And the upper echelon, you can remove this for the exposure if you don't really want to base on cast on shock with the lightning conduit. You can also take it away for crit chance nodes or whatever you really fancy. Mana regen, mana recoup, yeah, but the most important are the arcane surge increase, the mana regen here, the magnitude here, the weapon set 2, of course, very important to have all of them checked for the stronger curse, bigger curse, longer curse, etc, etc. And that's pretty much it of the passives. The strongest ones, of course, are the outer edge of the big ass circle for our passives. It's not that scary, since everyone kind of starts from somewhere and builds up to like 1 point. It just looks scary because they kind of let you do whatever you really want to, but I wouldn't really recommend that. And this is the thingy you put on your amulet, because going here is, yeah, kind of impossible, or you're gonna just completely fuck your passives. But it's really powerful if you don't play critical strike chance build. So just took me 33 minutes to cover it all in detail, so I'm kind of proud of myself. And let's go for a breach so we can see how it deals with enemies on time, so like stress test and a boss test, which is just perfect. I'm gonna be using this set of talents, difficulty 4. I don't know if there's a point to set 6. I don't know if it will make boss harder. It's only about like not dropping more or not making it harder. I don't know. I will just go standard +4, solo, breach, and hopefully get some gamba later on with the breach rings. So double checking the difficulty, it's there. We go to the map. The realm gate, already put in there. Level 82. And let's just quickly have a blast on it. Not that bad, not that hard. Spamming my potion, it's such a cheat actually to that budget build, but yeah, that's what allows me to just ignore them kinda. Just putting spark all over the place where they can spawn, and it does the job. No crit chance on the rings. I honestly only got like rarity from that Ingenuity. And the resistance is easier, so I could get some more mana out of my energy shield. Although I really like the other chest that I had, the one with mana regen implicit, kinda pog. Handy to have, not gonna lie, but it is what it is. More mana, more regen anyway. I just wish I had like the other one so stuck on the energy shield. And also still having the mana regen, because I saw... But yeah, I'm not gonna pay like 80 divine orbs. Unless I'm lucky and I'm just gonna sell it myself. I would still not use it, I'd rather sell it honestly. So much more fun I can have like with selling it. AKA buying the bridgestones, buying other bosses, audience with the king. Like Ingenuity can go wild if you corrupt it for over 80. Especially if you max the corruption. I mean, mana potion just ramping you up to full insta is just beautiful. Where are my breach rings? So much loot, I don't know. Like, I need to pick it up and find my breach rings. Breach ring, breach ring. Eh, so little of them. Valor, Reaper. Bro, am I blind? It's only... Swear to God, I got scammed. I got scammed. Let's see what the boss drops. Maybe he drops the diamond or the gloves. The gloves can go wild. So what we do for the rotation, we put this, spam some mana before he becomes available to be hit. We can put the flame wall for fun, refresh curse. Now we mana tempest. And we throw the thingy for critical weakness. Eye of the Winter. Oh my god, I didn't have voltaic mark on the... No wonder he survived so long. Let's do him one more time. I'm just gonna cut to the boss. Okay, hopefully I don't fail now with my rotation. Using some mana for the sigil. Yeah, that's better. And that would be all from me, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment, share and subscribe. And as always, see you on the next one.